It's Wednesday, and you all know what that means. That means once again we have AEW Dynamite. We are now on the road to the Forbidden Door. As you know, battle lines are now being drawn. We do have a number one contendership for the AEW International Championship. Who will be one of the four lucky recipients? The face Will Ospreay. Then we have an AEW TNT qualifier match. Now remember, the title's been vacant after Adam Copeland injured himself. So we will see who will be the men that will be involved in a ladder match at Forbidden Door. We also have the long-awaited anticipation match that's supposed to take place a week ago between Saraya and Mariah May, and I forgot what other match was involved, but we do have, of course, the AEW World Title match as well. But first things first, we're going to be reviewing two different events from the Japanese promotions. Where the first one's going to be from DDT Pro Wrestling for the Dramatic Dream and Takashiyama, which looks more like a mall to me, but it was a fun show. But this one also features only 3 matches and a surprise appearance of Saki Akai, who retired about a year ago or so. It's great to see her. She'll be doing a Q&A. And then, of course, we have the latest MARIGOLD show for the grand opening wars that took place on the 1st of June. And then, of course, we cap up this episode with some news updates to give you guys updates what's been happening in the world of pro wrestling, such as what events the promotions are throwing out, who's booked, what matches are set. We have wrestlers are either signing or, how to say, leaving the promotion, and also other developments as well. So, let's get ready for another episode of the Deleted Wrestle Zone.
Are you ready? Get up, get up! 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 Get up, get up!
Hey everyone, welcome to Deleted Wrestle Zone, all things that is pro wrestling with AEW, NXT, New Japan Pro Wrestling, TNA, the National Wrestling Alliance, various promotions, wrestlers, matches, and championships. I am your host, J Rod here. So, if you are new to the channel, welcome. This is a channel where we do a lot of pro wrestling reviews from various promotions, not only here in the United States, but also in Japan, Mexico, Canada, Europe, the UK, anywhere in the world where pro wrestling is not as big, but it continues to grow. We also do discussion videos, talk about various topics such as the wrestlers themselves, the promotions, factions, storylines, whatever we want to talk about. Excuse me. We also do more news updates. If I'm unable to put it on this episode, I can put it on a separate video by itself. We also do real-time news updates to keep you guys on alert if something has happened in the world of pro wrestling that needs to be addressed ASAP. We also do Naki Sayaka Watch and various other cool things as well. So if you like what you see, please subscribe to us. So click on that subscribe button. You'll be getting a lot of daily reviews and other cool wrestling content as well. But if you like this episode, please give us a like on the like button or a nice comment in the description down below. Now, all introductions have set aside, I believe it's time to get this show on the road, and I believe we should begin with DDT Pro Wrestling. Okay, it's been a while since I did a DDT review, so we're back to it. And this is part of the Dramatic Dream in Takashiyama Volume 2. Now, I don't remember if I ever seen Volume 1, but however, this was in a location, it looks more like a mall from watching the whole thing. Very spacious. You cannot see the audience surrounding the ring, but if you see certain camera angles, basically the audience is kind of like, if you guys are looking at me, you guys are the audience. So basically that's what it was. But nonetheless, it was a pretty good, interesting show. Now, however, we begin with our first match. Well, let me begin this one. This one took place back on June 1st. Now, our first match is a bit of a battle royale match, I believe. So, yes, we had about 6 participants, but there was one particular wrestler that was a mystery. So, people basically called it X or just the question mark. Give me a second. I gotta pull something out from the phone that leads to that because I think. Yes. Okay. So here's what I was looking for. So yeah. So we had a thing called the delayed entry battle royale. So that's what it was that I did not know. But however, we had wrestlers like Uni versus Kazuma Sumi, Keigo Nakamura, the boss himself, Shinjiro Takagi, Makoto Oshii, um, Kuzuko Irada, uh, Pokotan, and then of course the mystery participant, all the way from Tokyo Pro Wrestling, Rika Tatsumi. Yeah, that's right. You heard that well. You had a basically a Tokyo Pro wrestler involved, but it was pretty much okay. But here's the order that took place of the elimination. Makoto Oshii put Kazuma Omi over the top rope. Basically, he eliminated him. Takagi eliminated both Nakamura and Uni over the top. And then, of course, Rika Tatsumi got rid of Takagi um, when he choked him and then tossed him over the rope. And then she did the same thing to Makoto Shino. That led to, of course, Pokotan Rika Tatsumi, and then, of course, Kazu, um, Katsuki Irada, but however, he gets eliminated by both Pokotan and Rika Tatsumi, and then all of a sudden, Pokotan turned on Rika Tatsumi. I was thinking she was gonna do that because she's been known to do things crazy, but he beat her to the punch and won the match. However, during the post match, she attacked Pokotan, and basically that's how it ended. Now, our next match, we have a 6-man tag match. We had Takeshi Masada, Chris Brooks, and Yuki Naya. They take on against Kansusada Iguchi, Soma Takoa, and of course Harashima. Pretty good match, not gonna lie. But I was a bit biased because these wrestlers are great, but it was Chris Brooks with the pile driver onto um, on Soma Takoa winning the match. Now they took a bit of an intermission before the next match because since there were only 3 matches booked for this event, they did a little question Q&A in the ring, and to our surprise, um, Saki Akai showed up. Now those who know this, Saki Akai retired, but she does have a job working with DDT in the backstage area, which was a job offer that was presented to her by Shinjiro Takagi. Of course, she was joined by what's his name, Irada, and of course Tatsumi. Don't know what they were talking about, but seems they had a blast. Now let's jump into our main event. We had another 6-man tag match. We have Yuya Kuruku, Yuki Ino, and Tetsu Endo. They take on Toi, Yuki Aino, and Maho, better known as 37 Kamina. So that was a pretty good match, nonetheless. I mean, I love 37 Kamina. They are an amazing group. Some of you may question, where is Shumna Katsumata? Well, I can tell you where he's at. Where he was at during this time. He was here in the States, mostly in for GCW, because he was named as part of the uh, tournament survival event. So that's the reason. But the match was pretty good. I mean, there's no secret that there's been some feuds between both sides, but in the end, it was um, Yuki Aina, our current KOD champion, openweight champion, who picked up the win with the Renhi onto Koruku, and just like that, it was over. So, nonetheless, show was great. I enjoyed it. So I think right now we are done with DDT. Let's move on with Marigold. Okay, as we continue more with MARIGOLD on their epic journey since they started back last month, as you know, certain changes had to be made for this particular weekend. Now, Shikawa was out for injury, but nothing too severe, but as a precaution, she was going to rest. However, you know, Julia, who is also injured, well, she accompanied throughout the entirety of the regional tour, so it was great. So they have her open up the show with the promo, greeting the fans, whatever, even though I don't understand Japanese. But it was great to happen. Now, this event took place on the 1st of June, and this is day 3 of the Grand Opening Wars 2024. So we'll be seeing more of this at some point, but nonetheless, let's begin with our very first match. Our first match, we have singles action. We have Victoria Yuzuki taking on Chika Goto. I have to say the match was pretty good. Now we have seen Yuzuki, a very prominent wrestler. We saw how impressive she was at the by the end of last year and the start of this year. So it's no doubt in my mind she is, of course, the future ace. So she has a long way to go until she stakes that claim. But she has to face against Chika Goto, um, someone I don't think she is too familiarized with. But nonetheless, the match was great. But unfortunately, this match ended in a time limit draw after 15 minutes. Now, of course, here in the States, 15 minutes is a load of horse crap if you guys don't like those. But in Japan, not a much of a big deal, but it was a good match. Now, our next match, we have Seda Steel taking on Nagisa Nozaki. Now, I'm sure Nozaki is not happy that she's ended up in matches like this because she has one person in mind to get her hands on, and that is Julia. But right now, as you know, Julia is out of injury, but she has to contempt with Seda Steel. But I don't know exactly what Nozaki did, but she almost did something similar to it as the Claymore, which is the same move that Drew McIntyre uses. But it was very effective for her to pick up the win. Now, our next match, we have, of course, Chiaki versus Passion Nanane Takahashi. Now, you would think that Nanane will beat the passion out of her or try her to say, show me what kind of passionate wrestler you are. And that's always been who she is. She wants to see the passion out of everybody. But unfortunately, Chiaki had nothing left in the tank, ended up on the wrong side of the refrigerator bomb. And as soon as the match was over, Nanane applied a promo. Don't know what she said. Well, she did have some words to Chiaki. I'm not sure what she said. I'm sure Nanane will be keeping an eye on her because many people are not too familiarized with the at-risk girls unless you're a big fan of Joshi wrestling in general or certain wrestlers that you guys like, you know. So don't know about that, but we'll see where that goes. Now, our next match, we have another tag team match, and we have Mila Grace and Bozilla teaming up, and they face against Mitsa Matsui and Natsumi Shozaki. Now, this was going to be interesting because you have one bigger threat in this match, and that threat is, of course, Bozilla. Now, you know what I'm referring to. Bozilla is a strong and big competitor. The real question is, do you have an answer for it? Now, so far, she hasn't lost a single match yet. She is currently undefeated. She won on day 1. She did one the 2 shows that took place in Shinkiba. But nonetheless, she was very highly impressive. But she took out both Shozaki and Matsui with a Vader bomb while Mila was on the outside of the ring watching, letting her do all the work. But nonetheless, Bozilla actually got the job done. But it's only a matter of time until she finds her belt. But I wouldn't be surprised, to be honest with you guys, because there's something that goes in my mind when it comes to Bozilla. She was trained by Alpha Female. I wouldn't be surprised if Utami Ishida becomes the first world champion and she becomes the second. It's kind of like history will repeat itself again. But that's only me talking. But we'll see how that rolls up. Now, our main event, we have Mai Sakurai teaming up with Miku Anoi. I'm sure these two ladies know each other too well. Those who know this are well, Mai Sakurai originally came from At-Risk Girls prior before Stardom, so I'm sure she probably knows her too well. I think she was around that range when she was there. Now, some of you may know this, that there was rumors circulating that Mai Sakurai was fired from At-Risk Girls, but I have to say she's in good hands knowing that she teams up with somebody who she knows from another promotion at the time. But they have to face against two of the strongest competitors, Mirai and Utami Ayashida. Now, of course, Mirai and Mai Sakurai know each other too well. They're very close with each other back during their DDM days. So the obvious question, how can these two teams work together? Now, I have to say it was a pretty good match, but nonetheless, the combination match I did like is from Mirai and Utami Ayashida. Utami Ayashida had, of course, Mai Sakurai in a position where Mirai can do a lariat, and then and then of course Utami applied a German suplex. I thought that was a great thing, and it was a lot of fun to watch. And of course, at the end of the match, there was a promo, thanks to the win of Utami Ayashida. She was later surprised appearance on the ring was Nanane Takahashi, so most likely we could see those two face off each other. So that's going to be an interesting match to watch. So we'll see what happens until then. But for right now, we are done with MARIGOLD. Let's move on with AEW Dynamite. All right, AEW Dynamite. Well, it's finally I get to review this again after me going to LA to see Dynamite and Rampage. But nonetheless, let's get started with this particular one. It opened up with, of course, MJF making its return after we haven't seen him after losing the AEW World title to Samoa Joe. Now, of course, it's no secret that he probably will be going back aiming for the AEW World title. But however, it appears that he talked about certain things in the about while he was away. Now, he's not talking about, okay, the title, if you guys are probably questioning. He's talking about guys like the Elite who think they run the show, but he feels like, hey, I'm the one running the show. And then of course there's what's his name? Swerve himself, our current AEW champion, and then of course Will Ospreay. Now, while he was going out dissing these guys, all of a sudden he was interrupted by Roosh. So Roosh was trying to get into MJF's business, try to give him some warnings. But however, MJF got under his skin. I mean, I don't think MJF cares about what goes on from here on out. But nonetheless, we probably will see a feud between them. There's been talks about possibly those two facing off each other at Forbidden Door. Now, our next match is a four-way match for the AEW International title for a number one contendership. We got the former champion Orange Cassidy versus Kyle O'Reilly versus Jay Lethal, and then of course another former champion, Rey Fenix. So the obvious collusion in this one is who's going to walk out. Now, I'm sure many of you will probably think Orange Cassidy will be the most likely suitable person. I mean, yeah, it would make absolute sense, but you got guys like Phoenix, Kyle O'Reilly, and Jay Lethal. They could be suitable. But in the end, of course, it was Rey Fenix with an inside cradle onto Lethal that allowed him to pick up the win, and he will be facing Will Ospreay. Now, however, during the post-match, Trent Beretta, along with that weasel of a scumbag, Don Callis, showed up, and of course, Don Callis brought in a chair for Trent to hurt Orange, and then Orange brought a chain. Chris Sattler once again showed up and tried to get in the way. But, however, she, punched Orange in the face because of that. And then here comes Willow. But there was an exclusive content that showed that, of course, Chris Sattler felt like, Orange Cassidy never appreciated her. But there were people that were saying, hey, he was there when you were facing against Britt Baker. I mean, what's true. But we did see an interview with Willow talking how pissed off she is. She did congratulate Mercedes Moné, but she has unfinished business with Chris Statlander and that bag of snake himself, Stokely Hathaway, but it appears that she has an ally by her side, and that is Orange Cassidy. Now, through much of the entirety of this event, we did see Chris Jericho showing up, doing like, "Hey guys!" So yeah, he's been doing that. He was telling the driver who drove him there how to drive, the cameraman how the cameraman works. He was talking about certain people. He even ran into former members of the Jericho Appreciation Society, Daddy Magic and Cool Ange. He's telling Daddy Magic how to be a commentator, telling parental advice towards Cool Ange. I mean, I don't know. It's kind of interesting how that's turned out, but yeah. So we'll see where that goes on from there. Now, our next match is a qualifier match for the AEW TNT title that will be in a ladder match at Forbidden Door. We have Mark Briscoe versus Brian Cage. Now, of course, Mark Briscoe, as you all know, he is the current Ring of Honor World Champion. So he most likely could be looking for another belt to add to his collection. But he has to face a much stronger, much deadly person, the Machine, Brian Cage. Now, of course, the obvious thing is, Cage is a much bigger individual, much dangerous. But does that matter to Mark Briscoe? No, he just wants to fight. That's how it works. I mean, that's the Briscoe way. That's always been like that. But throughout the entirety of the match, we did see Takeshita. Now, those who know this, when I was at Rampage, they never mentioned this, that, of course, Takeshita and Penta's match on Rampage last Friday was a qualifier match. So it turns out it is. So Takeshita is in it. So I think he's scouting who most likely could walk in, and resulted, it was in fact Mark Briscoe with the froggy bow that allowed him to pick up the win. Now in the post match at the backstage, Jack Perry, who feels like, it's a load of horse crap that of course he was not rewarded the TNT title. He believes that the universe has chosen him as the TNT champion. And of course, Briscoe's like, what the hell is he talking about? So we'll see when we get there, when we jump into that. Now, we do see two interviews coming up. Now, the first one, we see Hook and Samoa Joe, talking about whatever they were doing. But they were interrupted with someone from Hook's past, and that is that moron, Tony Nese. Once again, criticizing him for eating chips. I mean, you know what I would do on Tony Nese, since he doesn't like to eat chips? I'll just close his nose and make him gargle on soda, which is, of course, people would say, is bad for your health. So teach him a lesson from that. But Joe restrained him, told him, we're not going to do things on their time. Because, of course, Joe is the master of that. He knows you're giving them what they want, time, but don't give it to them. Now, the next interview, of course, Swerve talked about the EVPs and, of course, what happened at Anarchy in the Arena, where he was rooting for Team AEW, but he said next time, sign him in. So that's interesting to see. But we will see Swerve in the main event against Roderick Strong. But we did see later on, of course, the Acclaim doing their thing, but they were shut down by the Bucks. Then they confronted them, saying them, of course, that sooner or later they will confront them for the AEW World Tag Team title. So we'll see what happens until then. Now, our next match, we see, of course, the full force of the BCC. Moxley, Claudio, Bryan, and of course, Wheeler Yuta made his return, who we haven't seen him in 5 months. They take on the guys from CMLL. We are talking about Magnus, Volador Jr., Rugido, and of course, Esfinge. So it's a pretty good match. But the thing is this. We know that BCC had dealt with them in the past. But as of right now, they have to go through them. But in the end, it was Wheeler Yuta with the seatbelt on Rugido who picked up the win. So I have to say, what a great way for a return. So we'll see what happens until then. I hope Wheeler Yuta is okay. I mean, we did hear that he was having concussion problems. But I hope he's 100%. I mean, I did say this to many of my friends, that I hope he doesn't end up like Shibata. That's a long road to recover from. But we'll see. Now, the EVPs were doing something in the back in their own private room. They were visited by Christian Cage. Apparently, he is thinking that what happened at Double or Nothing, that he was screwed. screwed. He screwed himself. His, Mama Wayne, Bratty Wayne, and the dinosaur got caught with the cookie jar. That's what happened. But EVPs are saying they're willing to overturn anything, but apparently Tony Khan is back. So basically, they don't have some leverage on certain things. But they can give them gold, so they just need a little time to give them that. Now, before our next match, Timeless Toni Storm made her way to the commentary desk. It's Mariah May versus Saraya. Now, this match was supposed to happen last week, but however, due to whatever reason, things did not go according to plan. Now, of course, Saraya is targeting Toni Storm and Mariah May because, they think they're a bunch of morons in some capacity. But Saraya was the one that picked up the win when she applied a scorpion body cross onto her and made Toni Storm, of course, watch. But Mariah May had no other choice but to give up. And then, of course, it became a beatdown. Harley Cameron and, of course, Saraya attacked them while Luther is being detained by none other than Zack Knight. All of a sudden, we just saw Mina Shirakawa showed up. So now, it seems now it's official at the Forbidden Door. Mina will face Toni Storm for the AEW World title. This title where she said that she will bring back to Japan. But I think we are going to have to question certain things. The person that's caught in the middle of this is Mariah May. So there's going to be talk about that. Now, when we get closer and closer towards that, we'll see. But we'll just have to pay attention. Now, Bryan Danielson, as you know, they're saying this is his last year with AEW, which is a sad shame. But, nonetheless, he said that he will have one last shot, so he is entering himself in the Owen Cup tournament in hopes to get a shot of the AEW World title. So, we'll see where that goes. Now, speaking of the AEW World title, we have Roderick Strong versus Swerve Strickland. So you think this was going to be a much of a banger match. Of course, basically, Roderick Strong is determined because he felt that this match, that he should have won a shot of this belt, because he did not get the chance last week. But Swerve managed to apply the house call. Like the first time, it failed. Second time, right there, and it was over. So Swerve has reigned supreme once again. But we will see until Forbidden Door when we see him versus Ospreay. But as of right now, we are done with all the reviews. Let's move on with our news updates. Okay, so welcome to our news updates. So let's begin with updates with the promotions on their upcoming events. Now, as you all know, recently there is a collaboration between two promotions. The first one is from West Coast Pro with the Oasis Pro for the Dennis Richmond Invitational that will take place later on this month on the 29th of June. However, now the tournament announced for two debuts. Now, these debuts are not involved in the tournament. But these ladies are making their first official debut, and their names are Maney and Miko Alana. So these two ladies will be making their debuts on this particular day. They're not participating in the tournament, but we'll see what happens from here on out. Now, Beyond Wrestling announced for the Americana show that takes place on July 4th. Mega Bane will be there, so I'm looking forward to that. Now, as I mentioned West Coast Pro earlier, on this part, as you know, they also do another collaboration, but this time is with Deadlock Pro Wrestling, DPW, and Prestige Wrestling for the Untouchable show on July 20th. They just announced Starboy Charlie will be making his presence, so I'm excited for that. Now, this one, I think many of you are going to be surprised. Black Label Pro announced for the Old Habits Die Screaming that'll take place on the 26th of July. They announced Raj Dees, or you guys may know him as the modern day Maharaja, Jinder Mahal. That's right, Jinder Mahal makes his first independent debut soon. Now, many people who I have talked to recently, mostly friends, not connections, we do have that strong belief that there will be more announcements of his debut in other independent promotions. But I did question, will he have a much bigger buzz like we saw with Mustafa Ali? You know, I mean, Mustafa Ali had bookings all over the place. But yes, but we'll see what happens. Now, our last update for the promotion side, GCW announced that they will be returning back to the showboat for a 2-day event in Atlantic City for Homecoming that will take place on the 24th and 25th of August. So, no names have been announced, but we will stick close to that as much as possible. Now, two names. Now, let's talk about signees and those who are announced that their contracts were expiring. Now, Alicia Atout, it's been foretold now that she is officially with All Elite Wrestling. This was unexpected. We haven't seen her with All Elite since Double or Nothing. She was an interviewer, but I don't think she was actually a full-time member. I think they just try her out. But those who know this, Alicia Atout, I'm not sure if there still are, if she's still dating MJF because they've been seeing each other. But we'll see what happens. Now, Fightful Select also reports on this one that Shane Haste, or as we knew him in WWE, Flapjack, it was reported that his contract with New Japan Pro Wrestling will be coming up soon. No word yet if there's signs of any re-signs with New Japan or any companies are interested in having him. So any companies are willing to have him, I don't know. But we'll see where that goes out. Now, let's talk about some interesting developments. Now, there's been talk recently about Jordynne Grace. Now, if you guys don't know what I'm referring to, there is a very big mystery that's been going around. Let's go back many years ago. Let's go back in time. If you guys remember, Shawn Michaels left because he was unable to defeat The Undertaker, and Triple H was having problems with legacy involving Ted DiBiase, Randy Orton, and Cody Rhodes. However, Triple H went looking for Shawn Michaels, and he saw that he was working as a cook. Now, what does this have to do with Jordynne Grace? Well, many people are saying, is Jordynne Grace the little girl who Shawn Michaels had a deal in the corporate cafeteria and the one who got super kicked? That's been a lot of questions that have been going on. Jordynne Grace even tweeted about this saying, what if I am? So that's the many mystery. So we will see what happens. I'm sure many of you are probably curious to hear the story. So we'll see. Now, Fightful Select reports that Rhea Ripley, as you know, who's out on injury, it was reported that she was at the backstage area of Double or Nothing by AEW. Now, don't forget, guys, in real life, her boyfriend, Buddy Matthews, is in AEW. So it's no secret. Now, probably somebody asked, how come we didn't see her? Well, WWE talent are not allowed to be on camera. That's the problem. So basically, you can't see them. This was something that they decided to avoid after that whole thing with Britt Baker. But nonetheless, we'll leave things like that. Now, Tokyo Sports reports, once again, Evil decides to go bitch again by saying that he refutes the words of Tanahashi about interference. Yeah, he's interfering all the time, but he thinks that he did nothing wrong. And he goes out that everybody's traitors for going against Inoki's teaching. Bullshit. Oh, yeah, that's a load of crock coming from him. What he doesn't believe in Inoki, he doesn't even believe in strong style because that's the problem. He's full of it. Now, Tokyo Sports also report about Shinjiro Otani. Now, those who remember this story, Otani ended up injured during a wrestling match at 0-1, and this one involved Noah talent Takashi Sugiura. Apparently, he hurt his cervical spinal cord, and he ended up being quadriplegic. But reports are now coming in from Tokyo Sports that no improvements have been made so far about Otani. So, I mean, it's sad, I'm sure people don't want to lose hope that he would gain his strength again and all that. But I mean, it is sad. But if there is no improvements, then he will be in this state for a long time. Like, it really is sad, guys. I mean, I don't know what to say. But at least he's alive, but I'm sure he does not want to be in this type of situation. But we'll see how life turns out, but hopefully we'll learn more about the situation with him. Now, moving on. This one was reported by PW Insider over TNA. Now, those who don't know what I'm referring to, let me pull this up for you guys. I just saved this one. Okay, this is what PW is saying. We have heard that TNA are trying to lock the new permanent location where they could produce television, perhaps even live weekly. So it appears that they're looking for a place where they could call home. Now, remember, TNA may not have like the necessary budget to travel all over the country. Now, we have seen them do that in the past, but it seems that they want to do that. Now, the last time they ever had a home was in Nashville, then after that, Orlando. So we'll see where that leads us. So we'll stay on top of that. Starlight Kid gave a stern warning to Azumi. So she told this to Tokyo Sports. As you know, there's been considerations by Starlight Kid potentially removing her mask. So we haven't heard anything yet about that situation, but we do know Azumi has made some not big threats, but more like threats that she wants to be the one to take off that mask on the Altogether show. But this is what Kid had to say. I won't let you touch my mask. So basically, Azumi, Starlight Kid, does not like what she's hearing. She feels like it's disrespectful right now while they're doing this amazing event. So we'll see what happens until then. Now, this tweet caught my attention. Now, if you guys remember, I mentioned later on this month we will have New Blood 13th. It was announced that the New Blood tag team titles will be defended. And of course, Wingori, consisting of Hanan and Sayaida, will defend their New Blood tag team belts against the Cosmic Angel rookies Aya Sakura and Sayaka Kurata. Um, Sakura actually tweeted this, and this is what she had to say. The first title match has been decided. Sakura and the others were challenged for the New Bloods, but we are the only synchronized tag team that debuted in 2023. If we win, we make the New Blood tag team belt a fresher but more attractive belt. Yeah, I mean, I have to agree that they are the most synchronized team because at first, if you guys remember, Sakura was really determined to become the first person before Kurata to join Cosmic Angels, but they joined at the same time. But they did show a bit of teamwork while they were being trained with Yuna Mizumori, and they did an excellent job, even teaming. And I think many people, especially fans who have been seeing on social media, talk about this, saying, why not make them the New Blood Tag Team Champions? And I think it's an excellent choice. They fit the mold on that. Waka and, of course, Hanako are still determined to have those belts, but right now, Waka is out on injury. I wouldn't be surprised if they do win those belts. That would put Waka and Hanako in a bit of jealousy, and if that ever happens. And trust me, we've seen Hanako how jealous she can get. We already saw that with Yuzuki, but now Yuzuki's gone. So we'll see where that leads us from here on out. So we'll stay up on top of that as well. But at this moment, let's just call it a day. Well, I hope everybody enjoys this episode. Coming up, we have TNA, and of course, we have Ring of Honor. But we also learned that we're gonna have the GLEAT and DDT collaboration, which is going to be a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to that. Now, I haven't decided if I can add another review before that, but we'll see how we go from here on out. So this is basically the plan. The priorities is GLEAT and DDT, of course TNA and Ring of Honor. So that's the plan for the next episode. But if I do have time, I'll probably add maybe another review. But if not, then we'll just leave things as it is. But right now, we'll just say this. I will see you guys in the next DWZ time. Same DWZ channel. I must bid all of you adieu. So, goodbye. Mwah, and have a nice day. Bang.